Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Neufeld with Elder Needs Law, and welcome back to the YouTube show. And as I state time and time again, I like to tell people I'm just an elder law attorney. That doesn't mean I can do everything related to what a senior citizen or disabled individual might need. I have to rely on other experts to supplement what it is that I do. I like to think of myself as a quarterback, but again, when we need help for the family, my goal is to provide a holistic experience, and if that involves bringing in other experts, then it's my pleasure to do so. And it is my great pleasure to introduce you to one of those experts. Her name is Nan Wetherhorn. Nan is an RN patient advocate, and Nan has been a nurse in the neonatal unit, adult ICU. She's provided skilled care in home, doing feeding tubes and ventilators. And so she knows what the aging process looks like from a crisis perspective. And she knows what it looks like from just a gradual aging perspective. And she knows what people should be expecting to see and can help people and help guide those people along the way. Nan, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and maybe start off by telling us how you got into this.
First of all, Jason, thank you so much for having me on your YouTube channel. I appreciate it. And yes, I am an RN patient advocate. And I will say briefly, I graduated from Vanderbilt School of Nursing in 1976 and have still work as a nurse. But I've used in 2015, I started my business as a patient advocate. And how did I get into this? I've worked mostly intensive care, so that communication is the biggest breakdown in our healthcare system. And as a nurse in ICUs, I was communicating with doctors, with family members. And the biggest thing is to speak in, as my clients tell me, plain English, none of the medical stuff. And I got into this because that's part of the reason. The other part, my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2000. And we're from Georgia. I was in Boston working as a nurse at Children's Hospital. And the minute they called me, I said, no, you're not being taken care of there. In that town, you're going to go to another place. Please have your doctor find another teaching hospital. So they did. We went to Emory, and my mother was very smart. Mm-hmm. She was a pharmacist. She went to pharmacy school during World War II. And she's from Macon, Georgia, went to Columbia University School of Pharmacy when women didn't do that. So now pharmacy schools are 80%, 85% women. Mm-hmm. Back then, it was 3% women. So, yeah, she was very smart. All that to say, the minute the doctor said to her, you have ovarian cancer, she put her hand up and said, you know what? My daughters are here with me. Nan's a nurse. Tell them everything because you said cancer. And I know that means I'm going to die. So that doesn't mean you're going to die, but that's what everybody who hears that word thinks.
Sure.
So we're sitting there and we're getting the information. And my mother lived another 6 or 7 years. Okay. She was 75 when they found it. She passed when she was 81. She went back to work after 6 rounds of chemo. And she was a pharmacist in an independent drugstore. So I thought, what do people do who don't have anybody? And what do people do who really don't understand? So that's when I thought about doing this. And I didn't start my business till 2015. I did some research, talked to other people, and I was like, I don't know. Would anybody pay for this? Would anybody need this? And yes, people need this.
Why is it a problem? And it's not intuitive to me. In other words, you go see your primary doctor with a problem. They refer you to a specialist. There's notes everywhere. There's medical notes everywhere. Why is communication such a problem if everyone's supposed to be putting notes in the chart? It's all supposed to filter back to your primary doctor, who's ostensibly the quarterback. Where's the breakdown?
The breakdown is the system as it's set up, particularly when people are on Medicare. The system is set up in two ways. There's the plan where you must be in network, which is the HMO plan, and that is what an Advantage plan is for the most part. Sure. And then there's the one where it's called a PPO, or which I would say what it really means, but what it really means to me is you can pick your own doctor. That without a referral. And that is a huge difference that people don't understand. Because you can't just go to any hospital, you can't just go to any doctor.
Right.
With the HMO model, you must go where they tell you.
Right.
So the doctors don't always communicate with each other, nor do they communicate with the patient as well, because they're talking in medicalese, and the patient, I often find, it doesn't matter the age of the patient, that when the doctor talks to them, they look at them very seriously, they go, and they're always nodding their head.
Right.
And I have learned to now stop and go, Mrs. Jones, could you tell Dr. Smith what we've been talking about what he's been trying to get us to understand? And what, oh no, they will tell you, because they don't want to look silly.
Yeah, right.
They will say something that has absolutely nothing to do with what this doctor's been telling them.
Right.
And that is where the doctor looks at me and I go, start over.
Right.
Let's find another way. So,
so you're an interpreter. You're a medical interpreter, right? And I tell people I do the same thing. I try to take complicated legal concepts and explain it in a way that non-lawyers can understand. You're doing the same thing with medical jargon, medicalese, and you're explaining it in plain English to help people make a more educated decision as to their health care.
Yes.
And so I imagine this would involve you reviewing a lot of medical records. Are you doing a lot of that? And are you attending appointments? How are you simplifying things for your people?
What I do when I meet with my client, once they hire me, is I look at their medical records. First, I ask them, I have a form I go through and I ask them what their health problems are. We go through everything from head to toe. And then I ask them, do you have your medical records? And the next thing I ask is, who are your doctors? Well, that tells me what their diagnoses are from the different types of doctors they're seeing. And there are some people that have 2 and 3 of the same doctor. I'm like, why is this? And there have been some, and again, slip through the cracks.
Yes.
So I go through all of that. And then once I've reviewed everything, I put my client's information in a chronologically ordered medical timeline, a short version, like 2 lines for each date. So that the doctor knows, refer back to this date, refer back to this date in the medical records. So I do that. And when we go to the doctor, I have that information that I hand to him along with the medication list that I've reviewed with the patient. I've circled the ones or starred them where there's a little bit of a, why are they on 2 of these?
Right.
Why are they on 2 of these? Kind of thing. And we go through everything with the doctor. And people have asked me, before you even ask, I have yet to have a doctor say, why did you do this? Every one of them looks at it and go, do you do this for everybody? And everybody that pays me. And when I go into an emergency room with that same information, or I fax it during COVID, I fax that information to the emergency room.
Right.
I call to make sure they receive the fax. And the doctor always wants to talk to me and say, this is so helpful. It answers all of my questions. And that is why I do that.
Oh, that's so interesting. So if a client of yours goes to the ER, when you're notified of that, you're immediately going into their file and sending the ER the pertinent information. So they're not prescribing something they shouldn't prescribe. They're not IVing something they shouldn't IV. And that's incredibly important.
Well, the other thing is, when my clients are going into the ER, usually because they can't breathe or they're in severe pain, so they're not talking too much.
Right. Correct.
So this alleviates that.
And they may not be the greatest historian as to what's been going on with that medically. Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's why I feel that information is incredibly important for a doctor to have. Yes. And I will be honest, I have doctors who referred me clients because they see all of this detail.
I believe it. It's so helpful. While we're talking about ERs, I think that's a really good segue into, you've already talked about one important aspect, which is making sure the ER has an accurate medical history, at the very least prescriptions, because we don't know we don't want anything to interact with what's already in the client system. But whether it's the ER, whether it's an inpatient hospitalization, whether it's a rehab after hospitalization, I think those are special settings where people they're letting things happen to them. And, the person in the white coat is in charge. And I think a lot of people, I feel, whenever they go to the ER, everyone's frustrated with the process. When they're in the hospital, they're frustrated with the process. They can't get someone's attention. They have a need, and the nurses and the doctors are doing a million different things. Do you have any advice for people, even if they can't hire you? Like in that setting, how are you a good advocate for yourself or your loved one in these ER, rehab, inpatient settings?
Well, I will tell you. I tell people before they go in the ER, and I tell people, get a list of your medications and have it with you always. But if you're going to go into an emergency room, you're not going to go in and give them a whole long history. Well, I didn't feel good for a month and this has happened. You want to give them everything in 3 sentences or less. And then once they get you in the back, in the treatment room, they will start to ask you questions. But always have questions that you have. Like, for example, if you go in and it's been severe stomach pain for the last 2 weeks, and today it was so bad you had to come in. And you talk to your doctor, and the doctor said, oh, let's wait and see, try this, try that. Well, have everything that you've tried. Tell them what the doctor has said to try. Like if they said antacids or they said this or that, and say, do you think I need a CAT scan? Do you think I need an MRI? You know what? You know your body better than the doctor. Suggest these things. If they say no, say to them, well, why not?
Right.
And if anybody that says to you, that's a silly question or a stupid question, get another doctor, get another practitioner.
Right.
You are the one in charge of your health care or your child's care. You have no stupid or silly questions. And number one, for emergency rooms, that's the first thing, is prepare in advance.
Right.
Have your medication list, have your allergies.
Very smart.
Front and center. Start with red, and remind them, these are my allergies. They should be asking you these questions. But the other thing I tell people is, make sure if you're in the emergency room that they give you a diagnosis. Especially if they say, we're going to do tests, we're going to run this, we're going to have you for observation. No, 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 no. I don't want observation. I want to know, what is the problem? And if they say, well, we're not sure, you're having stomach pains. Okay, that sounds like you could say, I have a gastric problem.
Right.
Doctor.
Right.
And if I'm having to recommend that, and I will tell you why that happens, because insurance doesn't have to pay if you're in the emergency room or even admitted to the hospital for under 24 hours. 23 hours and 59 minutes is under 24 hours with the diagnosis of observation. You do not have to pay that bill.
Wow.
It says it in tiny letters when you're discharged, but you can also Google medical observation. And
what do you think the doctor's incentive would be to like kick someone out too soon, or keep them under observation for 23 hours? Any thoughts on that? Yeah.
I would say that's an insurance. I'm not going to say
insurance company.
I'm going to say that would be insurance.
As an aside, I think you'll be happy to hear that one of the things when we're doing just general estate planning for our clients, and we're doing a healthcare surrogate designation, the front page we tell our clients this is optional. There's nothing legally required based on this one bit that we do, which is we do have on the front page the ability to date and then list the prescriptions they're taking, their blood type, and what they're allergic to. Because listen, this is not for you, meaning my client, this is for your loved one who may not know your blood type off the top of their head, and to have it in writing somewhere, and at least even if it's an old set of prescriptions, the doctor can ask, are you still taking X, Y, and Z? And we hope that provides a little bit of extra care and benefit for our clients. But, but working with someone like you, who, I see them, and I may not see them for another year or a couple years after we do those documents. If they're working with someone like you, who's keeping up to date with all their latest medical history, their latest medications, that's going to provide all the more value. That's excellent. That's excellent.
So and I did develop a digital one that they can buy online, and they can fill it out themselves. And every time and hand it to their doctor, every time they go to the doctor, any changes that are made, it's what I call a living document, because you update it every time. And your doctor has a copy, so it becomes part of the medical record. So, and it includes all of your family health history, which I know a lot of people don't know anything that happened with their parents, or they only know how they died. They don't know any other health problems. And it's important to know the other health problems, because that'll tell you what led up to that. So I push people learning all they can about their own health history.
So Nan, tell us a little bit more about your subscription model, where people need to be located to work with you, and how if someone wanted to reach out to you directly, what's the experience like? How does it work?
Okay. I've just started a subscription model because people told me, oh, that would be great. We really want that, because I come in a crisis. I get you through the crisis. And normally the client says, after a few months or so, I'm good, I can do it myself. And then they come back if they need to. My subscription model is for somebody who wants me to be there, me or my nurses to be there ongoing. And it's a certain number of hours for a flat fee, as opposed to my regular rate of service, which is a fee of $250 an hour.
Yes.
This is a little bit easier for people to manage.
And what region do you serve?
I serve the entire United States.
Entire United States.
If you want me there, boots on the ground, as I call it.
Yeah.
I'm in Florida, and I have nurses in South Miami. I have nurses in Jupiter, and I have nurses in Tampa. So we can accommodate you. If you want me to go to you, you can fly me there, or I can find you another advocate. I'm connected to most of the advocates, and I would find you an advocate that would take care of you.
Very good. Excellent. Nan, if someone wanted to reach out to you directly, what's the best phone number? What's the best website?
Okay, the best thing to do is go to my website. It is healthcareadvisornan.com. And on there,
and we'll put that in the show notes.
Okay. And on there, you can email me, or there's a direct line. You can call me from there.
Very good.
So that's going to be the easiest way to actually contact me. And on the website, it'll tell you all about the subscription model. I've also written 2 books for people that are that need to understand the difference in an assisted living, skilled nursing, and home care.
Very good.
That's on the website. And if they wanted to call a number, 786-507-5637.
Perfect. Nan, thank you so much for lending us your time and your expertise, and what you do is just a wonderful compliment to what I do. And I love working with you, and I love the care, that the extra level of service that you bring to some of my clients and to your patients throughout the state and throughout the country. And we appreciate you and everything that you do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your work too, Jason. I really do.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.